Hi, my name's Desiree, and in this video I'll be talking about the macromolecules. So first off, we have carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are very important because they provide most of the energy that our cells require. They are mainly made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Simple sugars would be either like 5 or 6 carbon chain links, and that would be the monosaccharides. Very basic. It's the 6 ones are glucose, fructose, galactose. 5 is ribose or deoxyribose. These ones, again, simple sugars, simple little chain, easy to break. And because they're so easy to break, easy to get energy out of them, but it's not sustainable energy. Our disaccharides are still a simple sugar, but they just add some of those monosaccharides together. So you get sucrose, which would be table sugar, and lactose, which is just simple milk sugar. Many of these simple sugars added together give us our polysaccharides or our complex carbohydrates. This is mainly like plant starch, whole grains, and our body can even make it in store as glycogen. Complex polysaccharides could be like your whole grain. I said that whole grains too, which require your body to take a little more to break it. So since it requires more to break, it gives us more of a sustainable energy. When the blood sugar is too high in the body, that is called hyperglycemia. Mainly see it in diabetics. So if you're type 2 diabetic, your insulin, your body still will produce it, but it's just not being used properly to bring that sugar level back down. In type 1, not enough of that insulin is being produced in order to break the sugar. So again, all that sugar staying outside in your blood, and it can cause a variety of problems, but most of the signs and symptoms are thirst, frequent urination, unintentional weight loss, nausea, vision changes, confusion, coma if it's not caught early enough. On the flip side of it, hypoglycemia is where your blood sugar is too low. Most common in those that take those anti-diabetic medication as well. But you don't have to be diabetic to experience this. It could be you just did not eat enough, and so now your body is telling you like, hey, there's not enough energy for us to use. We're going down. So some of those symptoms would be like a racing pulse, cold sweats, pale face, feeling really hungry, shivering, and just feeling real restless, anxious too. Next macromolecule we have are lipids. And lipids mainly consist of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, but can sometimes use phosphorus. It's broken down into 3 main groups. The first group would be your triglycerides, and that is a 3 fatty acid molecule bound to a glycerol molecule. It's the most common one we find in the body. It can be stored in fat and tissue. It can be stored for energy supply. It can be stored as insulation for your body to keep, make sure temperature stays where it should. Also, if you're curious what can increase it on your labs, is eating a lot of the pastas and those things bad for you, like cakes and cookies. Phospholipids, though, they consist of 2 fatty acids and a phosphate group attached to that glycerol molecule. This is the one that you see in the cell membrane. It creates that phospholipid bilayer. It kind of helps keep a structure onto that cell membrane, kind of helps whatever can go in and out of that cell. It's just there mainly for structural components. You can also see it in the liver and in parts of the nervous system. Third group is steroids. So this is for connected rings of carbon atoms widely distributed in their body, and it can have many different functions. So we can see it as cholesterol, or we could see it as hormones for both like genital, like ovary, testes, or in your adrenal cortex. Last macromolecule we have is the proteins. So proteins mainly are, again, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, but with nitrogen. and sometimes sulfur, just depending on what it is. Some examples of that would be like albumins, hemoglobin, or if you're thinking food-wise, that would be like your steaks, patties, chickens, fish, beans, anything like that. Proteins mainly serve as structural materials, energy sources, or hormones. Some examples would be like your receptors, meaning a protein would combine with carbohydrates to make like a little receptor on the cell to allow certain molecules to bind to that cell to get a job done. Or they could be antibodies, so they'll detect and destroy foreign bodies in our system. Or enzymes. Proteins can be used a lot in enzymes to catalyze chemical reactions. If our body doesn't do it fast enough, we can rely on those enzymes to shoot it forward. Building blocks of proteins, though, are amino acids, which are just like an amino group and a carboxyl group. With that, proteins consist of one or more polypeptide chain, and they come in all different forms, have many different functions, like I said. Most all of these macromolecules are going to be absorbed in your small intestines to be used. That's where most all of our absorption happens. So it absorbs there and then can be dispersed through the body after. Thank you.